Welcome.
Yeah, welcome to Fixing F Franchises. So today's our first episode.
Today's our first F&F episode.
Official
3F.
episode.
Official episode.
About...
He makes the weapons. I use them. And one will try to stop him dead. There are worse things out tonight than vampires.
Like what?
Like me.
All our strengths, none of our weaknesses.
Blade.
Blade, guys. Blade. Oh, shit. Oh, no. So, awesome. I'm glad that you're here with us today. Very excited. This kicks off the first season of what's going to be 7 episodes, 7 movies, and the last episode of the season is going to be involving both of us. One movie that we both enjoy and that we're going to have our input in. This one, though, Ronnie, the man, is headlining, and it's Blade.
It's Blade.
It's Blade. It's going to be the Blade trilogy with our friend Wesley Snipes. We're not touching on the abridged Fox Spike TV version. No, we're just touching on the film series.
That's right.
So, all right, let's kick it off.
Yeah, so I really enjoyed, first and foremost, I'll go ahead and say I did enjoy the trilogy. Of course, 1 being the best one.
Yes.
1 being the best one, and then 2, I actually really liked 2. I really liked 2. 3, Blade trilogy. It was cool actually seeing Triple H. And
Forgot he was in that.
you forgot, yeah, he has a small role, but
That was with Jessica Biel and Ryan Reynolds, right?
Ryan Reynolds, yeah.
And then there was like some other rando as well, wasn't there?
There's that guy who played Dracula. He's from like Prison Break.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He was also, so he was in Prison Break along
Yes.
with the lead who also played Flash villains or DC villains in like Legends of Tomorrow or The Flash or something like that.
Yeah, and then he was also Chris Redfield in one of the Resident Evil movies.
That's weird. Oh,
Yeah.
the lead. Yeah, I remember
lead
that.
guy.
The one they're
The
like,
younger one.
Yeah, when they're
Yeah.
like tunneling in the walls, the zombies. Yeah, okay.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So anyways, the Blade trilogy, not the third movie, but the 3 movies, I did enjoy myself. I like those a lot. However, it's not to say it didn't have its issues. And that's what we're going to talk about today, is the issues and how we can make it better, right?
Right. So if it was as successful as it was, which it was successful, I'm sure we would have seen a lot more Blade stuff.
Absolutely.
So, you know,
Cash cow, right?
Yeah, 100%. They made 7 Harry Potter movies. They made 7. They did the Hobbit prequel, and then they did the Lord of the Rings. You know, I mean, these are critically acclaimed movies with large fan bases, but why couldn't Blade be? You know, it's a Marvel film.
We could be in Blade 20 right now. When the first movie come out in the 90s?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like 20 years.
Yeah, I mean, and not only was it, you know, one of the first big blockbuster, you know, Marvel movies, you know? And, sorry guys, this is my cat, he's new. And it headlined an African-American man.
Yeah.
Along with Spawn.
Yes.
Spawn was the first.
Yes.
And then Blade happened. And another fun fact, I tried doing a lot of versions, you know, trying to, you know, draw this haphazard Blade face, you know, but it started off, you know, Blade started off in the 70s in the comics, and he had, you know, the pea coats that were like lime green colored and like bright red colored. It was only when we got to the 90s, he had the animated Spider-Man show costume where it was like the blue highlighted black biker, what do you call it, with the red. I tried doing that. I look more like a wrestler than I do Blade. But you know, it's just the spirit of, you know, trying, I guess. If you like your pin. So it's Wesley started the leather on leather look, the edged up, you know, fade look, you know, the high top glasses look. Wesley Snipes started that. So he kind of headlined the ultimate Blade look. He headlined, you know, the Blade that we know and love now.
Yes.
So he was the trendsetter for it. So, and he was the trendsetter for a big blockbuster superhero movie.
And I think the first movie couldn't have come out at a better time. Right? It came out, I think, before The Matrix.
I know exactly what you're going to touch on. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're going to touch on.
And then as I was reading, is the writer Mike Wolfman?
It was Mike something, and then
someone else.
And wasn't Kevin Smith directing it? He directed one of them.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure on the director. But when I was reading, Mike Wolfman first wrote him for DC. But for some reason, it never got published. So he took it.
He brought it to
when
Marvel.
he left. He brought it to Marvel, and he was first writing him and actually gave him a little mini fro.
And he still had it.
Yeah. So he drew him as that, and then as you see him now, how you kind of know him as, like you're saying, the high top. So him coming out, Blade coming out in the 90s, I thought couldn't be a perfect storm for that to happen, because you got the music, and you got the leather trench coats. Like if you go to the Matrix, that was like a hot time. The leather trench coats, the music genre, techno.
It's like techno punk or
Yeah.
cyber. Not cyberpunk, but it's like cyber something, punk something. But yeah,
Something.
The Matrix, the neon dreads, and
Yes.
then this.
Yeah, like the rave scene.
Yeah, the rave scene, the dirty, industrial. What do you call it? But no, it was that was big in the early 2000s, and
Right.
Not only that, Blade saved Marvel.
Oh, did it?
Yeah,
Was it in the tank?
Yeah, 100%. They were
Okay.
like, that's when like Michael Jackson was up for bidding like on it, and he was gonna be Spider-Man, and Spider-Man didn't save Marvel, Blade did.
Wow.
It brought him back from the brink and kind of like said, hey, we can make a crazy grungy movie and we still have it put asses in seats.
You can kind of say for superheroes movies in general, right? Because you had the Tim Burton Batman, but that was early 90s, late 80s, early 90s.
That tanked as well.
Yeah, and then as it got away from Tim Burton and it got to the Joel Schumacher, and then you got Batman Forever, which wasn't bad. I actually like Batman Forever.
Yeah, I did too, actually.
And then Batman and Robin, which went down the hill. Then here comes Blade, which is a complete contrast from Batman and Robin, which is the campy, a little too... I'm not even going to say comic booky, because that was almost silly.
Yeah,
right. It was very silly. Like in the comics, you're not going to see that.
Yeah, if the Batman didn't have his nips showing, the costumes would have been cool. But...
And then the whole, I'm going to clank my feet together, and then the hockey blades come out, so we could play hockey.
It would have been cool if it just didn't have the nipples. I like the shiny metallic thing, that was cool, but we digress.
Yes. So Blade being that, it didn't take, I wouldn't say it took itself seriously, but it was a serious movie, and it was edgy the right way. Like, instead of it trying to be edgy, it kind of just was. It is what it was. And it pulled it off perfect. I think you got the nice actor for it. Wesley Snipes pulled off Blade very well.
Even though he was a diva, and even though he pissed everyone off, which is well known, but he still knew how to act.
Yes, and it's almost like, hey, if you're gonna get this, you kind of have to accept it.
It's the football. It's the MVP.
Exactly.
Hey, yeah, you can be a dick. Just learn how to pull your weight.
The performance definitely outweighed the tolerance, because he was performing very well. Specifically for the first one, it was just like, wow. Here's Blade, and then he even kind of was a little jokey here and there.
There was only one joke scene that I got.
Which one?
And that was, well, are you out of your goddamn mind?
There was another one too where he did the yes thing.
Maybe, but
Remember
that's
that?
two.
That's two. That's
It's not comedy featuring superheroes.
No, exactly, and that's why I'm saying there's a few jokes, two jokes here and there,
but they were still made him badass.
Yes,
they weren't like at his expense or anyone else, or
right.
like shoehorned in to line up the mood. Hey, it's Blade, vampires.
Exactly.
And then it was gritty as well. You had the guy who was always the not married with children guy, grounded and for life guy. He's in a bunch of different stuff, and he kept like having his arm chopped off or being burned alive or something. And that was kind of like an ongoing joke as well. And then, but it was like also scary. Like there was that part where he was like going through the hospital. He was like burnt to a crisp and stuff.
Yes.
And then they're burning that super fat vampire as well.
Yeah. Like
and
the
then
gatekeeper.
Yeah. And then the guy who was the lady's colleague who was like decrepit and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And he was gonna eat her ass. So it was very like scary as well.
Yeah, it had its horror elements in there too.
Yeah.
So a lot of action, the horror elements, and just the overall, the story was good too. And what I really liked about it is that here's Blade, and it wasn't like an origins movie.
Yeah, you kind of just threw him in.
A lot of that movie isn't about, well, if you don't know Blade, here he is, and what he's gone through. There was like just a short piece about it.
Flashbacks.
Yeah, just small flashbacks that was able to accomplish who Blade was, and then Whistler helped with that when he's explaining who Blade was to the woman.
Yeah.
Right, the nurse or whatever.
Yeah,
I forget who she was. But yeah, so he's explained to us. So you do get some backstory, but it's
okay. So these are good points. That's what made the movie good.
yes, and so that's the first one. So the second movie, I think, did a good job of carrying a lot of those elements out. You didn't get too much horror, even though you got Nomak, and he kind of had this splitting jaw thing, which he separated himself from the other vampires. So I thought that was a cool difference. So there was a few horror elements, just not as much as the first one.
Yeah.
The one thing that bothered me the most was the fighting animation, where like
oh
the
my
the CGI.
God, yes.
Yeah,
and then
bothered me.
and speaking of another correlation with the Matrix was they had the same thing with Reloaded. Remember the pole scene and it had the same quality of that weird clay looking what do you call it, CGI. So yeah, but the second one was great. You had big names in there. You had you had your, and then marker time. So we'll do that. But yeah, so left turn, rock, paper, scissors, femme fatale. So each Blade movie had its own femme fatale. It had the pretty looking nurse woman in the first one. It had your various female vampires in the second one that were helping out. Ron Perlman and Blade.
Yeah.
And then, so it basically follows this. Left turn for the second movie was the vampires are now helping Blade, and then they're hunting another super vampire.
Right.
Rock, paper, scissors, I just mentioned it, super vampire. Femme fatale, you have your peppered in, badass female vampires in it. So it's basically still following the formula. It's not off the rails, not yet, and it's watchable. It has the gimmick, it had that cool ass scene where they cut open the vampire and put blood in it and all the flavor.
Yeah, chest cavity starts to shake.
Yeah.
It starts to activate it almost, even though it's dead, but it's the virus in it still.
Yeah, that's badass.
Yeah,
and then
cool.
like it's all covered, his organs are all covered in bone and stuff.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So, we haven't deviated from it. It's a good film, it's watchable. What about the third one?
The third one. Okay, so the third one, I thought they tried to go for the heavy hitter villain, Dracula, right? The most famous vampire is Dracula. And so I thought they tried to go really over the top and say, okay, Blade versus Dracula.
Right.
Which sounds pretty cool, like on paper. It just needs to be pulled off well. So you got these three vampires. You got Triple H, the girl from Waterboy.
Really? She's in there?
Is that the girl?
No, it's just
a different
Biel.
girl. It's a different girl.
Isn't Jessica Biel?
No, it's Jessica Biel, but I'm talking about the villains. There's that female vampire. I forget what she's in. Anyway, I'll find out. And then I forget who the other guy is. I don't even remember. So then they get Prison Break out of there.
Yeah.
Which is Dracula. They break out Dracula out of the pyramid that he's at, transport him, and then they're holding him inside of their building. And so I guess I don't know what he's waiting for something. Couldn't quite remember. But anyway, so the third one, where I think the third one fell off, is it kind of didn't know how to do it well. I thought the story wasn't very strong. Yeah, there is no left turn in this one. It's literally just straight up Blade versus the Dracula.
Yeah, so they made, the first one was Deacon Frost, which is kind of he's a deep cut villain even in the Blade comics, Dracula was always the big bad.
Yeah. Children
of the Night, he's not fighting these big world breaker type villains. He's usually just fighting he's a street level vigilante.
Right.
And second one, Deacon Frost, or the first one, Deacon Frost, second one, other, kind of tweaked out vampires, higher level strength vampire.
Yes.
And then the third one, it's Dracula taking over the world.
Right.
So that's kind of a red flag right there that, they went for a left turn and they weren't able to handle it.
Yeah. And so I thought, you got the first one, which is, you got Deacon Frost, who actually has Blade's mom.
Yeah.
So that was a good.
It was a good. Yeah, that was a good left turn.
No one expected that.
Yeah,
Like,
no.
oh, Blade's mom's
And
alive.
she's like a bitch. Too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah. And like she has no feelings.
She's not a nice lady to Blade. Sorry.
She has no feelings towards Blade. Care less. She's down with him getting sacrificed to bring back the Blood God.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was a good twist. The second one had a good left turn, being that he starts like you said, he starts working with the regular vampires to fight the new vampires. I don't even know what they're called, but they're like infected with something.
Right. So
yes,
you have your A plus B equals C.
Mm-hmm.
You have A, B. C wouldn't have been a stronger vampire, the strongest vampire. You know what C would have been?
What?
They have to fight against humans.
Okay.
That would have been C.
Okay.
That would have been the left turn. That would have been the rock, paper, scissors. Hey, you know, we fought a street level vampire guy. Now we're fighting super hard vampires to fight. The third movie would have been, hey, now we have to fight against people, you know, who are ostracizing us. You know, me because I'm a vampire. Maybe humans are starting their own vampire hunting league because the word got out or something. And Blade has to decide whether I'm human or when I'm a vampire. You know, shit like that. You know, yeah, man, that would have been the most obvious choice, but they screwed the pooch on.
Yeah, and like you said, it was a big red flag because they're kind of hoping that Dracula carries this movie. Like Dracula and Blade, that conflict is just going to carry the movie. That everyone's going to kind of sweep everything under the rug, the movie under the rug, until the final scene, the big showdown between Blade and Dracula, which wasn't that great either. Because I think it's more memorable. The other two, Deacon Frost and Blade, Nomak and Blade. I don't even remember the fight between him and Dracula.
I think they kind of souped it up because
they did, but
they used the special effects and all that stuff and tried to make him look like the devil and all that, and that it wasn't memorable. You know,
exactly.
you had a lot of good names. Didn't Jessica Biel or Ryan Reynolds wound up betraying them, right, or something like that?
No.
Someone wound up betraying them in the third one.
Don't think it's Ryan Reynolds or Jessica Biel.
Yeah, it was one of the good guys or something. I can guarantee it.
I don't think so.
Okay, well then
we could find out right now.
Comment on us. Comment, and let us know, because I could have swore. But you know, that's kind of where they overshot. Mm-hmm. And that was the big problem. That's what made it bust. You know, you had you had all these stars, and Wesley, you know, it's know who you're working with, know who your fan base is, you know who your audience is. Because I think that might have been what happened. You had all these A-list celebrities, and the second one, you didn't really have it.
No.
You just had kind of B-list actors at the time. You had Wesley, and then, you know, they kind of made something out of what they were given. They didn't have anyone butting heads. You know, they didn't have 4 different A-list stars, a wrestling star, a TV show star at the time. You know, it was just, you know, Wes.
Yeah, I agree. So, the third one, you have Wesley Snipes as Blade. That's as good as it gets. And then, if you like wrestling, then you were happy to see Triple H.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, Triple H, that's cool.
Hey, Prison Break.
Exactly,
yeah.
And then that's it. I think they were solely relying on names.
It was just a name drop movie.
It really was. And then Blade versus Dracula. Everything else, it looked like they didn't care about. They were hoping that all of that we just mentioned was going to carry this movie, and it didn't. It didn't. It's definitely the weaker out of the 3 when you compare it to the other 2.
Kevin Smith, I think, directed the third one, and that was a story where he, like, Wesley was being a bitch. Not a bitch, he was just being a diva, and you know, just giving, you know, just being pissed off, and understandably, you know. And then Kevin Smith, I think, hired like the Hells Angels or a biker gang to like kind of stay around set or something like that, and Wesley didn't leave his trailer. Would only communicate for the rest of the movie with Kevin Smith via sticky note. Because you got to have some give, you know. And I fucking hate Kevin. No, I don't hate Kevin Smith. I don't like throw darts at a picture of him, but he fucks franchises.
Oh wow.
You know, he does a complete left turn, or not left turn. He did a complete woke thing, you know, and he ruined He-Man. You know, the Netflix thing on He-Man. You know, he went from raunchy female sex jokes to, you know, I'm a woke guy. You know, I don't, you know, women power and all that stuff. So he's not a good director when he's not doing raunchy comics.
That's a shame.
You know, your audience know who you're looking at. But yeah, so that's about it. And that's gonna happen to us. You're gonna have to go.
All right.
Okay, so we got that. How do we fix it?
How do we fix it? Okay, so I think they need to go back to the basics. Okay, don't worry about getting this big name villain. Okay, like you said, street level villain. Okay, you get Blade, and I would start it exactly how the first one started, where he's already Blade. It's not year one. He's been Blade for a while, and he's just going about his mission. Yeah,
that completely goes against what I was going to suggest.
that's good because you get both points.
Okay, well, keep going.
So I would pick it up exactly how the first one did, and of course,
Just drop him in.
You just drop him in. He's Blade, the vampire hunter. Simple. I think keeping it simple could make it easier for everyone to follow. Plus, you don't have to spend a lot of time going back or thinking about ways where, okay, how could I explain this to the audience that doesn't know him? Okay, now we got to take some time to explain him to the audience. But it's a franchise that's been around for a while. Just drop him in, Blade. You already know. Okay, so street level villains. Blade is already a veteran vampire hunter. Action, and I think they would do well doing more horror. You know how on the last series that we just did with the Terminator, we said thriller over the action. So I would say a horror over the action, still keep it a lot of the action.
But then you kind of get into this weird thing. Are we say, is this a universe where Ronnie's pitching his movie to these big old CEO guys? Does Marvel still own, or does Disney still own Marvel? Is this going to be a rated R film? Is this going to be directed towards adults, towards kids? Is this, who's your audience?
My audience would definitely be adults.
Really?
Yeah, 100%. I think a lot of my movies, regardless of the genre, I would aim for.
So you're not going to really
adults.
do PG-13, you know?
I mean, I can get away with it.
Okay.
Like, you can get away with making movies PG-13, but still kind of have adult theme. You know, it could be the content is like to where the adults would get it. You know, so I could still have my adult movie,
Right.
and it doesn't have to be a lot of gore, and because that's what makes it a rated
But
R, right?
that's also true, because when we saw Blade,
Yeah.
we were like 12, 10, 9, 8, you know? Damn, that's true. Okay. Yeah, that answers my question. All right.
Yeah. So, but from what you're saying, from the studio and the executives, they're going to say, we'll tone it down because we would be, I guess,
missing
the audience, a demographic that would be a big money maker. And from their point of view, from what I've heard, is that if the kids could watch it, then you can get the parents along with them, because then you don't have to worry about leaving asses in seats. It gets more asses in seats because if the kids are whining and crying about it, oh, we got to go take them to the movies. So we got the kids and the adults versus just the adults, no kids. But I'm looking at the quality, and I'm looking at I'm playing the long game in this. Okay, so if I make a good franchise, do I sacrifice a couple million for this one movie when I know I'm going to make more millions on the back end because of all the sequels I'm about to make? Versus just making one movie, and the kids got in there, but
you sacrificed quality, integrity, story building, you know, creativity, etc.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then if you're thinking about a character like Blade, a vampire hunter, how can you make him any more? He's
not holding hands to fucking Marshmallow Lane, you know.
Exactly.
He's not, you know, unless it's the Marvel now, where you're gonna have stupid, you know, hammed-in jokes and you know, CGI fest.
Right.
You know, I understand. Okay.
And think about his origins, right? Like his mom
was murdered
Yes.
By a vampire.
While he's
while
in
pregnant.
the womb.
Yeah.
That's not very kid friendly at all. So
Depends
it's
on the
like
kid.
it depends on the kid.
Yeah.
Like we don't care. We saw it. Our
I
parents-
saw the first Blade. It grossed me the fuck out when
Yeah,
they're burning the fat guy. I was like, oh god.
Yeah. So we saw it, but now how things are nowadays, that probably wouldn't be. I don't know. Won't get into that. But from beginning to end, this character is not very kid friendly.
No, it's not.
So it's a hard sell in a way. It's like Spawn. Spawn could be a hard sell to children. So I'm just gonna make it. Hey,
you had 20-year-olds collecting Spawn toys and shit like that, and watching the cartoon on HBO. So I guess you're right. You know, to build a franchise, you don't really need to pander. You just have to let it be good.
Exactly. Look how well Game of Thrones did. That's not pandered to children at all. But look at how many seasons there are, and then now they're making new seasons.
Prequel season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So exactly that. It's like, okay, so you can see how well adult those adult films.
Hey, mama, you want to see my blade?
Yeah, not like that. No.
Okay.
Not like that.
We'll do that next movie.
But rated R or even mature content, how well that does.
Yeah.
Big money grab when you got people that are streaming that, which is kind of nowadays the new thing, where it's like, okay, well, how much money can I make on streaming versus going to the movies? The movies is still big, but streaming is way bigger right now.
Movies are going downhill because of the quality. Because of focused on putting asses in seats in the short run instead of building something for the long game.
100%. Exactly. So to continue on how I'd fix this franchise, focus on the horror aspect, good action. I think you really need a hit on whoever's playing Blade.
I got you for one. And it's kind of... Well, are you done?
Oh, okay. So hold that thought.
I will. It's held. I'm holding
Okay. So you got to knock it out the park with whoever's going to play Blade.
Okay?
Yeah. Everyone else, I wouldn't be too concerned about. I wouldn't do my new Whistler because I don't want to be too... I don't want to be a direct... Yeah.
Member bearers.
Exactly.
Member bearers. We're not going down Member Berry Lane.
Right. So, no Whistler this time, but you could have like a Whistler-like character.
Okay.
So I would do something like that. If you want to have like, he reminds me of Whistler, but not necessarily Whistler himself.
Right.
And then as you progress with the movie, I would make it to where it's more Blade's inner conflict of, as you were saying, my vampire, the duality of who he is.
I push my fingers into my eyes.
Right. So it's like he hates vampires, but he's half vampire. And then they're always questioning him. It's like, so when are you going to succumb to your thirst?
Right.
There may be a time when that happens.
Right.
And what do you do then? So it's like, dang, do I kill myself? It's like if you got bit by a zombie, you know you're going to turn to your zombie. What do you do with yourself?
That's interesting.
Right? So, and a lot of times we see in movies is that they conceal it and they try to hold off for as long as they can. We saw it in the second movie when, I forget his name, the big guy with the tribal tattoo, and he got bit by the other vampires and he concealed it.
Oh,
didn't tell no one
yeah.
until he
He's
turned
part
into
of Chupa's group, right?
Exactly.
Chupa! Yeah, okay.
Exactly. I want to say something Hammer. It was something like that.
Something like that.
Anyway, but yeah, he turns, didn't tell no one, and just
screws everybody.
Kills Donnie Yen.
He's in that?
He's in that.
Oh,
Remember
shit.
the one with the sword?
No.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
There you go. A bunch of breakout roles right there.
There you go.
Cool.
And then Chupa's the one from Fast and Furious.
Oh, so who's Ron Perlman?
Ron Perlman's just the bald one.
Just the bald one? I thought his name was Chupa.
No, Chupa is the dude from Fast and Furious. He's Reinhardt. Ron Perlman.
Oh, Ron Perlman's called Reinhardt?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Anyway, I thought that was very cool. So that was a good twist where it's like, dang, now you kind of have to work with vampires. So, in my how to make this one better, invite an element like that where you kind of have to work with an enemy.
Hold on. I'll build on that idea.
Yeah.
Do you want to listen to it?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so you're going through the movie, right? Blaine's struggling with his duality of, yeah, I am half vampire, but I need to kill vampires and stuff like that. But this is where it goes into my idea, where it is his year. It's not his year 1, but it's his year 2, to where he's not like falling off of buildings and shit. He knows the way of the streets, how to do the damn thing and stuff. And vampires are finally getting hold of him, hearing about him and stuff. And they try to incorporate him, to accept him into the vampire race ranks instead. So it could be a movie about him finding out who he is, and like at the end he fights the whole big vampire crew underground in New York, and decides to finally save the humans. It's his stepping point to his hero, to his career as a hero. So that's a good idea. And then it could have like, hey, there's 2 factions. There's the vampire hunting humans, and then there's the vampires, or there's a human hunting vampires, and then there's the vampire hunting humans. And then you can have like the dick white commander guy who's always giving Blade a hard time, and like even like slides him a little bit, like kind of does some dickish shit to him, or like get like say the vampires put a bounty on Blade and he kind of gives Blade up. And then say the dick cop that gives Blade up like gets torn in half, or his entrails, so he's dying, and then Blade kind of like needs to decide, hey, do I let him whatever, or like it's him and Blade are dying, and then he needs to decide, hey, am I gonna feast on this cop in order to survive, or am I just gonna die with him and keep my humanity and not let myself succumb to the ravenous animal hunger that vampires do, or something like that, like wouldn't that work?
So you would make him make a different choice.
Yeah, your conflict right there, But then if you want to use it as an allegory for, being a young African American in Harlem, or, something like that, to where there's undertones for a multi-layered story or symbolism, by all means. But it's an action movie first. It's a vampire hunting action movie first. And I'm full on for understanding the moral and the symbolism of it, 100%. If it's done tastefully, I'm not there to sit down and kind of do this thing. I mean, like Namor, the Namor is Hispanic. I'm not gonna want to sit through the Namor movie and have it be about him struggling with race relations for like 2.5 hours.
Him trying to cross the border.
Yeah. So I get it. He's Aztec, and he's like, my world is no longer here. I'm not gonna want to do that. Yeah, I'm Hispanic, but I'm not gonna want to sit through a preachy Hispanic movie.
That doesn't define who he is.
Yeah, exactly. It's not. I'm not here watching the Hispanic who's also Aquaman. I'm here to watch, the Aquaman who's also Hispanic. So I mean, it's all about who your audience is. Make conflicts, do all that stuff. It's fun. Make them fun, make them worthwhile, make you feel sympathetic towards his plight. But that's how I would do it. Kind of do the 2 factions. Vampires try to recruit him, humans try to recruit him, but they don't want him because he's a vampire. So that's what I would do.
Okay, that's good.
But it's still your turn. I kind of usurped you.
Oh, that's okay. I was letting you finish.
Oh yeah, I'm done. Yeah. Do you have any more ideas?
So, as far as continuing on the series. So what I touch on, I said you got to knock it out the park with whoever's playing Blade.
Do you have an idea?
I don't. What do you got?
Yeah, we're going with the Disney run, but I like the shape of his head. John Boyega. He was Finn in the new Star Wars films. The Black Kid. Black Kids.
Yeah.
But I only like it because he rocks a high top and he's got a big square face. And I like that.
Okay.
Put about 30 or 40 pounds of muscle on him. He'll look good. And then he has to do, but he has to do the gruff thing. Right?
I was gonna say
he doesn't look gruff.
Right.
He kind of looks like that boyish.
He's nice.
He looks like a nice guy.
There you go.
He has the nice guy look.
And it's like I don't know if I'll be able to buy in.
Really?
Yeah, it's like he's too nice. It would be like Timothée Chalamet trying to be Batman.
A young Batman.
A young one was like, do I buy? Is this the Dark Knight?
Well, they said that about Robert Pattinson. I don't know if
that dude could act though, and he even had a little scruff. That dude has some acting chops.
But we don't know.
And you know what helped is that we saw him in other roles before. So if John Boyega could do some gritty, rough roles, prior, to Blade, then I'll be like, oh yeah, okay, I can see it now because I have something to reference. But if he knocks it out the park right off the bat with Blade, you know, I'd buy into it. Just right now, I'm like, okay, I don't
It's the
see
head
it.
shape.
Oh, you like the head shape?
He's got a really good head shape.
Okay.
He rocks the high top. It's very angry. I dig it.
Okay.
Michael B. Jordan's been in enough shit.
Yeah, no,
He's fine. He's
Yeah.
got kind of a pointy head. He's got kind of a gaunt look to it.
right. Yeah, I can't buy into him being Blade, so I'm with you on that one.
Do you think Mashallah Ali will wield the helmet?
I can see it. I can see it because again, I could buy into the rough, gritty, dark Blade. What's going on with that?
It's in the they said, and this is from the articles that I read, that it wasn't. They're making a Blade movie, but it wasn't going to be Blade. It was going to be a group of women discovering who they are, featuring Blade. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, and then Mashallah Ali backed out of it twice. I think once or twice.
Smart move.
But he's still attached to it. He's doing this thing where he's like, it sounds good. I want to be part of it. No, I don't. They're rewriting. I want to be part of it. No, I don't. So it's hard, and it's going to bomb if it's not going to follow the left turn, the rock paper scissors, and the femme fatale, and not let each of these aspects over encumber the other to where it compromises the movie. You know, it's true. I would have done a year one, or like I said, a year two. Cast John Boyega, stack him with muscle, stack him with fucking muscle, like really, really good. But like have him have that lean look, like the dehydrated yoked look, and we just fleshed out the new Blade movie. That's a perfect what do you call it? Because you can't have a big bad. You got to have the struggle of duality. He's not fresh. You know, on the streets. You know, he's been doing this for a year or two, and he already knows. But maybe him knowing how the streets are has made him indifferent and grisly, unsympathetic towards both sides, and he is the daywalker. He's isolated himself. Hey, humans treat me like dicks. Vampires don't see me as one of their own. Vampires are evil. Humans are less evil, but they're also dicks. So I don't really belong anywhere. And then you can really play on the isolation of it, like hey. I'm just hunting. All I have in my life is just hunting vampires.
Right.
I don't really have anything else. But that's all I know. And you have to introduce kind of a mentor. Maybe. I don't know the comic books that well.
He could stumble upon one. I mean, that's one thing too, is that you can make it to where that kind of gives him some hope for, I don't know, if you want to make it, if he stumbles upon a human mentor, then yeah, and you kind of, all right, not everyone is a piece of shit. So you kind of get some empathy back from him to where he's just like pulled on both sides. Like you said, I'm just hunting, fuck everything else. I'm just a vampire hunter. That's all I'm going to do.
That's all that he is.
Yeah, that's all he is. And then maybe, he encounters, say, a mentor that gives him another layer of himself that he always had, but he kind of stuffed it away somewhere to keep himself protected, to continue on with his mission. So, I mean, you could put that in.
There's got to be lore in there somewhere, like a kid or an old guy or a lady.
Oh yeah, there is because when he was so after what happened? So I think he gets adopted by someone. He's in London, right?
Yeah.
He's in London, and then he's with someone. They end up getting killed or dying. And so he goes to, I forget where he goes. He goes somewhere to another country, and he starts another group, or he's in another group with the other vampire hunters. I think not just vampires, but they start hunting other creatures. And stuff.
Creatures of the night.
What are those called?
Not cryptids.
Yeah, cryptids.
No, not cryptids.
Yeah, there are cryptids.
Cryptids are big feet and like the Mothman.
Yeah, like the werewolf.
No, those are creatures of the night.
But that's what they are.
No.
If you're a cryptozoologist, you go with Mothman, Bigfoot, the werewolves.
Like a thylacine or like a little like dog weasel or shit. It doesn't necessarily have to jump to Mothman right off the bat.
No, what I'm saying, but those creatures are cryptids. Well, if they're not cryptids, then what?
creatures of the night.
That's not to say they're not cryptids. That could be another name.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
All right, cool.
Just because they're cryptids does not make them creatures of the night. They're both.
Right.
You know?
Okay.
Anyway, we digress. But yeah, he goes to, and he gets taken under that group, and I think they're. Dang, I read this 2 days ago. Can't quite remember, but yeah, he's had mentors before. When he's young, as he's grown up.
Sure.
Up until he's an adult. And then now in the movies, he encounters Whistler. Whistler told him what he encountered him as a kid.
Is Whistler from the comics, or is that just
I'm not
original
sure.
character?
I'm not sure if he's an original character or from the comics, but going from the movie, he found it when he was a kid.
Yeah, I remember that.
So he kind of always had someone. He was never truly by himself. You know, he was never just like abandoned, even from a kid.
What would translate to the movie more is that, what would help the movie more if he was a loner throughout the entire movie, then he finds someone to relate to, or he found someone to relate to, they died by one side of the factions, and now he's a loner. What would translate to the movie?
He's a loner and then encounters the someone to.
You don't think that's tropey?
So why'd you bring it up?
I just want your opinion on why it's, why you would go that route.
See, I would go that route because you start off the film with him. So I guess
being an amateur.
Not necessarily that, but you see I guess a growth. You see progress versus the reverse, where he has a mentor, dies, and then where does he go from there? So if he already has, if he's already starting off one way, completely unempathetic, or right, and then encounters someone that he can open up to, be vulnerable with, like his mentor. That shows, you see progress, you see growth in the character. So if you start off with him already having a mentor, you don't have any growth. They die, and then he would have to go the other way.
Not necessarily, because you could have growth through circumstance.
Okay.
You can have because that's good. It's a good catalyst for character development.
Yes.
But you can also find other catalysts as well, because say his mentor died off screen. And now he's cranked to 110. He's a ruthless vampire killer. He doesn't by any means necessarily. He doesn't, it'd be cool to have a dude just turned into, or a lady or a dude just got bit and there's no turning him, so he ruthlessly kills them, And wow, this guy's, he's half vampire, half human, but he's neither, he's so aggressive, he belongs to neither, you know what I mean? He's his own creature of the night. So now that's where I would go. And then through circumstances to where he develops relationships in both factions, that's where he decides where he wants to go. And then maybe you don't necessarily introduce a mentor. Maybe you don't even need to introduce people as an individual that help him find sympathy, but maybe it's just the aspect of right and wrong. You can have a church scene. You can have a scene where he revisits where he grew up. You can have a flashback scene, all this stuff, but it's through the circumstances of events where he finds the defining moment where he's going to be Blade the Vampire Hunter or Blade the Vampire.
Okay. So if he is going around just killing vampires, what's he doing wrong? What would cause him to want to change anything? Because if he's just hunting vampires, is he doing anything wrong?
No, but that's where you get the isolation and the kind of, because the humans see him as a vampire by association anyway.
Sure.
So I think that's where you kind of have to find a reason for Blade to kind of choose the side of humanity instead of the vampires. Because him just existing is in the wrong. I mean, even if you look in the movies and the comic books, he's the half and half. He's
an abomination.
He's an abomination. So he's going to get hate from both sides regardless.
Yeah.
So that's the wrong he's doing. But maybe because of his mom or his mentor or both, he wants to, prove his humanity. And maybe, they're vampires ripping each other, ripping people apart, without regard. But then he can have a cool monologue where he's like, humans do that all day, every day. What's humans in war? there's a war going around across the sea.
Okay.
You tell me humans ain't doing that.
Yeah.
Some shit like that.
Okay.
So, but we need to find the event and the circumstance that's going to cause him to choose not the extremist humans, not the vampires, but just the side of civility and reason. Maybe he finds a vampire who's like treating him well, and the human faction kills her mercilessly, and then vice versa. Like something like that, where he has to decide. It really evens the tables. But I got to figure that out. I got to figure out what's going to be the pushing spot. The pushing the final piece in the house of cards that is Blade.
Yes.
And then I don't want to do a cop out to where like the leader of the Harlem faction is the one that killed his mom, or some shit like that. It has to be something complicated. Something that, the vampire was addicted to humans. He's going to be addicted to humans. That's what he is. But maybe he was addicted to the wrong human. Maybe he's an extremist somehow. I have no idea. I gotta figure that out. What do you think?
About your scenario?
Yeah. Or I like yours. I mean, I don't really see a problem.
Yeah. And so that's the thing, is that we kind of got to this route when we were talking about a mentor. So we don't even need one per se. Like you were saying, maybe he doesn't need one, and that through circumstances he grows as a character with having character development depending on. So we would need something that kind of hits close to home. Maybe he encounters someone else like him.
Oh my God! Do you want to? No. I thought of something. Maybe. Oh, that's a good fucking, because that kind of coincides. Because maybe, you just solved the fucking riddle. Because maybe he's not the only Daywalker. Maybe Blade is the prime example of Daywalkers. Maybe there's been a bunch of Daywalkers that have been there before, but they're all like gnarled, or they use them as, like slaves.
Oh.
You put the race thing in there.
Okay.
And then, they're like pets, or they're not, because they're usually weak and feeble, and, the vampires can't kill them. They're vampire blood, and that's still sacred, but they treat them like shit. So, they only like Blade because Blade got the best of both. He's able to walk in the sun, the human aspect of it, but he has all the vampire powers as well.
Yes.
So they're like, hey, we have a guy who can play behind the lines, but he's also part of our team. So they're gonna like butter him up and shit. And then maybe like the chick that he finds that patches him up or something, she was only nice to him for that fact, and she has her own little weird, gross harem of half Daywalkers that she like kicks and beats and shit.
So he has Daywalker privilege.
Yeah. Ah! Oh my God. Yes. That's really great. I like that. That's really, you fucking solved it. That's beautiful.
Okay.
Beautiful. Perfect. And then you have, the faction, just hates him because he's a vampire and he's black. So, or, the undertones for that. But that's you just fucking solved it. That's beautiful. And then the ending would be, a big explosion, something like that, or where it kills all the half-breeds and he's the last one left, where it actually puts up his own value, or like maybe that one of the half-breeds sacrifices, they sacrifice themselves to save Blade because he's like their messiah or something.
Okay.
Or shit like that.
Or maybe make it like logically, this guy's the only one that could pull anything off.
Yeah.
You need to keep him as safe as possible.
Yeah.
So they do a sacrifice to say, hey, I can't do it, but he can, and we need to keep him alive. So I guess strategically and logically, that made sense to whoever that character is.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we need to keep you alive at all costs. Type thing.
Because you can like kind of like, I don't know, save all the half-breeds or
right,
kind of just quell the vampires. Because, if they weren't quelled, they'd take over all, the entire world and eat all the humans.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's a good point. So he has his own fraction.
Yeah.
Faction of, he has his own group that he could be part of, that he relates to.
Yeah.
But now he's in a position where he's the best out of all of them.
Yeah.
And I guess like you were saying, maybe some of them have this jealousy aspect of that, well, he's kind of the perfect one, right? And now he's in a position that he's never been in, accepted, or even he's in this.
So you want to introduce this? You want to introduce this aspect mid movie?
I don't know where we would put it in.
I put it at the end.
I would put it at the end would be the best scenario.
Yeah, but I wouldn't really like flesh out the whole the weak half-breed thing too much.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, we could definitely do that in the second one.
Sure.
Because like maybe he has a faction of like they're half-breeds, but they know the circuits of the vampire channels and things like they know how to like translate them and know where to find them and shit like that and stuff like that. But that can definitely, and then you have the jealous one who starting shit, and then that can be the antagonist for the second movie. But that's very good. But yeah, I really like the whole he's the house vampire. Yeah.
Yes, the house vampire. Where were we going? I lost my train of thought.
That's all right. That's okay. And I mean, no offense to anybody. I couldn't figure out another way to put that. But yeah, so that's a great thing. It definitely it sutures up all the loose ends very well. It definitely has that it's the ball that both sides are playing with, and then it gets put in Blade's court. So it's perfect. I don't see anything wrong with it. What I was going to do and suggest before you came up with that brilliant idea is that we're going to the mentor route, and I was going to be like, do you want to put in like an Easter egg or cameo of putting in like a well-known Marvel mentor that trains Daredevil, and he also trains Blade, and comic book fandom click tickling.
He's like a hero whisperer.
Something. There's bound to be them in comic books, but you really hit the nail on the head, and that's a great fucking idea.
I don't think that hasn't been done before. I don't think in any.
No.
So that'd be new and refreshing.
Yeah.
So pretty much, if it's new and refreshing, I'm all for it.
And then you can like with the half vampires that are all weak, and I don't want to like they're all like gaunt or some shit like that. And that's boring. Like they're like some of them have deformities or covered in tumors or shit like that, or they're just they don't look healthy at all. But then they're getting beat up by the pure breeds or whatever. So.
Right, because I think what they were trying to do in Underworld was that. Remember, they were trying to mix the vampires and lycans.
The werewolves.
Yeah, and they kept failing because they needed a specific bloodline.
Yeah.
And so when they got it, it was I forget the vampire. Victor called him the Abomination. So yeah, because of their mixing. For whatever reason, they didn't work out. So yeah, they got some deformities. There's something wrong with them. They don't look like either one. Yeah. But it looks like a gross mixture.
Amalgamation. Yeah.
Where it's like maybe you got one with overgrown canines. That
Ooh,
kind of stick out.
that's fun.
Yeah.
Have fun with your prosthetics in the movie. That would be fun. Cool. But then you feel sympathetic towards them.
You do.
Yeah.
And you're like, dang, there's this group. It's a lot like what they did with the X-Men. Right?
Oh, so yeah.
The X-Men were kind of shunned away from society because they were different. So now you can kind of have this where we don't fit in either camp. We're not vampires all the way, but then we can't go out in public like this either.
Right.
So we kind of just have to stay away from everything. Just like Blade.
Yeah.
But it's his choice because he can actually choose.
He looks like normal except for like pointy teeth.
Right.
Yeah.
So you would think that he could fit in just with the vampires. He could fit in with people.
Right. So he's the poster child of what they want to be.
Yeah.
But for the sequel after this Blade film that we make, do we want to just kill off all of the deformed half-breeds in the first film, or do we want to let some survive for future films for another film idea for the sequel? Because if we kill off all the half-breeds that are all fucked up, it kind of puts into the main notion that Blade is the main half-breed. He's the main guy. He's the main guy who got the best of both worlds. So you kind of still have your comic accuracy, but you kind of seal up a lot of loose ends.
Okay. So the question is, do we kill them all off, or do we leave some
for
to
story
continue?
Progression, yeah.
I think naturally it would feel good to keep some going. So yeah, maybe some die and some live. They continue on with them. So it's kind of like when you're like the stories when you're at war. Not the whole platoon doesn't die, but you get some members that die.
Yeah.
And then the platoon carries on the mission. So as you go forward, maybe it starts to get less, and less. And then maybe at the end, it is just Blade by himself. And maybe he goes on to looking for more. He's like, well, if this group existed, there's got to be more in the world.
That's true. And that's And it's Marvel. Blade's been around since the 70s. I'm pretty sure that he's not the only half-breed vampire.
Right.
So if we look through the source material and we fudge up, kind of the origin stories or something like that, we can still include a character that's Marvel and comic accurate.
Sure.
But we're just retconning maybe the origin, or retconning where, what happened or something.
Yeah.
So that's or maybe like, it was a vampire that was a half-breed, and then it made a deal with Mephisto, or made a deal with injecting ancient vampire blood or something, or maybe it ate too many humans and it kind of tipped the scales in his vampire genetics, and it made him more vampire and less human. But now there's a conflict, and you can go a whole rap. But that's a great story. It really is. You can do a lot with it.
It's fun.
Oh, it's definitely fun.
Imagine fun making that movie, like we said, the prosthetics and all the makeup that you can do.
Oh, 100%.
So visually, you kind of have fun with a bunch of different characters, depending on how many we got. Man, you can go from all the way, maybe you got one with one wing always exposed.
Whoa.
We could have so much fun. And the fact that these are original characters,
yeah,
most of them will be.
Yeah.
Hell, what's ever in our imagination.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have any rules that we have to abide by.
And it's not, you don't have the big bad guy either. You don't have the main, it's not even a world-ending scenario.
No.
It's just, literally within their own secret societies.
Yeah.
So you don't have that giant, clock's ticking, we have to defuse the bomb.
Till midnight.
Yeah, till in 3 days. It's fucking,
When you got the big blood moon coming, the whole world ends.
Then that motherfucker's going down. Whatever Wesley would say. But,
yeah.
It's true, and then you have a lot of area for nuance and symbolism and things like that. I like it. I think that would be an excellent movie.
I'm having fun talking about it.
100%.
We want money for this.
Yeah, money, please. 100%.
Or we get put on board and we have some creative control.
I'll do that shit too.
Yeah.
How would you just? So it's gonna have the vampires that are, human, but pasty skin or whatever. Do you want to incorporate? And then of course you have the fucked up daywalkers. Do you want to incorporate your quintessential pointy nose, pointy ear vampires?
They kind of did that in the second one with the father of them all.
Yeah.
He was pale with the pointy ears, and he was like that.
Yeah.
I mean, we can. I don't think it hurts the story either way. I think it's just what kind of makes sense for the movie that we make. Does it fit visually? Especially if we're already having kind of mutated daywalkers, then I mean, it could make sense where you got the pointy nose.
I think you're right,
skin.
because we would kind of overdo it if you introduce another aspect of character type as well. Because now you got humans. In the first movie, you got humans. The vampires look like humans with pointy teeth, and then you got the fucked up daywalkers.
Yeah.
And then you got blood. I'm pretty sure that's kind of overshooting it. You're kind of already filling a glass that's already full. You can do that for the second one. Number 2 could be, I don't know. Do you want to work on the second one right now? We can do a part 2.
Part 2, okay.
I mean, the first star of the video was kind of rocky because of my cat, but okay. So you have number 1, Mutant Day. That's not how you make a Y. Daywalkers. Okay. So number 2. Where do we go from there?
We could make it to where Blade is looking for more.
Okay. So our left turn.
So now Blade has another mission outside of just vampire hunting. He's now looking for others like that. So you kind of give him another purpose in the world, in addition to vampire hunting. So in a way, his character is becoming something more than just the vampire hunter.
Is he the vampire searcher?
/ hunter.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Does he find a sympathy for pure breeds as well?
A sympathy for pure breeds? I don't think you can, because how would you make them sympathetic?
What if they only hit up blood banks and dead people?
Oh yeah, well they did that in the second movie where they own the blood bank.
Yeah.
And so that's how they were getting
form of sustenance.
Sure. Yeah, I mean there's nothing wrong with that. They're not killing anybody, they're just drinking blood. I mean you can't.
Does he find that sympathy in them, or does he still just hate all vampires? Or was that quelled in the first movie.
Does he find sympathy or does he hate them? I think he just might be kind of indifferent.
He's
towards
like
them.
gray now?
He just like, hey, stay out of my way type thing. Keep doing what you're doing. Stay out of my way.
As long as you're not like killing humans, like
Right.
he's gravy.
Right, then just keep doing what you're doing type thing. Because, I mean, what are you going to do? Just wipe them out? And the reason why are you going to wipe them out? They're not killing anyone. They're not turning people into more vampires.
Number one, Blade would have done that. Blade in the first movie would have.
In the first movie?
Our first movie.
Our first movie.
Yeah, where, you know, that's where we want him to be in the beginning of the first movie, where he's completely...
Oh, no matter what.
Yeah.
No matter what they're doing, he's just wiping them out. He wants to rid the world of vampires.
And then he finds a sympathy through the muties.
Yes,
okay.
That's
why I was
like... Yes. That's very good. Okay, so now... Then, yeah.
Okay.
And I wouldn't say sympathy, he's just now...
Indifferent.
Right. Yeah, he's indifferent. Yeah. Just stay out of my way and you can do what you do.
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
So, another question. Mm-hmm. Are we flashing our proverbial tits to the fanboys out there? Are we going to include another street, Marvel Knights character that's going to help Blade? Is it going to be the Blade featuring movie, or is it just going to be Blade throughout the trilogy? Because when you get a character that's equally as memorable, or even outshines the performance of the character in his own movie, that's kind of, that's a big thing as well. Because if I want to put Werewolf by Night in the Blade movie, or Moon Knight, or Daredevil, or the Creature Commandos, or somebody like that, or Doctor Strange, or someone that has to do, or Brother Voodoo, if it has to do with the occult, or Ghost Rider, if it has to do with the occult, or a street level villain or hero, then you would want to. They might qualify to be put in, because you're not going to put Spider-Man with Blade into it.
No.
But are we open to that? Would that be an idea, or are we going to be afraid that it's going to be a Blade movie featuring so-and-so, but then it'll take away from the Blade aspect of it?
That's a good question. So I guess our story would answer that. Okay? So depending on who the villain is and where the story's going, is there room for another hero to come in? So say we do have Ghost Rider or Moon Knight. Why is Ghost Rider Moon Knight there? Is it a situation that Blade can handle himself, or is it a shared villain amongst the two?
Yeah, it would most likely be that way, but what would be the villain?
I don't know. And then we starting to get into a bigger villain, not necessarily street level, so it does get a little bit bigger if another hero is coming in so be a 1v2 type thing. The villain is strong enough to take them both on, or neither one of them is strong enough to take them on by themselves. So how big is this villain?
Why does it have to be just one villain?
Okay, that's a good point too. Is it 2, 3, or 2 villains from both of them?
That's
that's working together.
That's because you haven't seen that done before. It's usually just 2 heroes versus a big bad.
Yeah,
it's not 2 versus 2.
Right.
So that'd be interesting. Like having Moon Knight has to fuck with King Cobra or somebody, or just equally the occult, and then Deacon Frost for Blade, or Dracula for not Dracula, but someone like that, or that'd be interesting. And maybe now that the neighborhood of the vampires from the first movie has been cleared out, and the new head fucker for a new faction of vampires is trying to make his way in, along with all of these occult things. There's a vacuum now for the occult and creatures of the night because of that faction being blown up. So now they're trying to find a new foothold. So that would be cool, kind of like a gang war of creatures of the night that are trying to find a foothold in New York, because New York is the epicenter of most shit in movies.
Right. So that's up for the taking.
Yeah, that'd be a cool idea.
Okay, good. I like that. And then how I would do it is that Blade encounters both of them, both villains, and then I would kind of leave it to where the second hero gets introduced, say towards the end, either as an Easter egg or at the end as a cameo, where he goes in. I don't know how I would do it to where, I don't know if he goes seeking, if Blade goes to seek the hero, or do they just so happen to cross paths? Because they're both their respective villains, do they just cross paths because the villain's connected?
Are you asking me personally?
I am, yeah.
Oh, well, I thought it was interesting that you wanted to introduce a new villain at the end.
No, they're throughout the movie. I'm talking about the hero, the second hero to Blade. So Blade gets, this is his movie.
So you want to introduce him at the end, the second hero.
The second hero. So Blade's like, all right. So maybe he fights them both, and he's like, all right, either he needs to and I don't know, I haven't thought of it through. Does he go seek them out, or do they also come in to play because they cross paths? Yeah.
I got one for you.
Yes.
So, for the second movie,
yeah,
it's not going to be just two villains versus Blade. It's going to be two villains and the second hero versus Blade, because the second hero views Blade as a vampire.
Got it.
So he's kind of doing the whole thing from the first movie, kind of grouping all the creatures of the night together, and is just, kind of, he is what Blade was in the first movie.
Got it.
And Blade kind of, through the second half, kind of is showing him, hey, it's not just black and white.
He becomes the mentor.
He becomes the mentor to the naive black and white hero who we want to bring in for the second movie.
Got it.
That's fucking good.
Okay.
That's good.
Yeah.
So, you have Blade just getting reamed, left and right, the first half.
Yeah.
Doing his stuff, and he's getting hit three ways. And then the two bad guys are kind of making, they're kind of doing the whole lesser of evils thing. Hey, if this guy takes over, he's going to fuck up your world this way. But if I take over, I'll throw you little breadcrumbs, and they keep doing that to him the whole movie. And then he's got the random arrow in his ass that's the second hero who keeps throwing a wrench in his shit. And he just doesn't know which way is up. Second half second to third, 2/3 of the way in, he meets the hero. Kind of shows him, how things are, kind of introduces him. Maybe he introduces him to the half-breeds from the first movie, where they made a little alcove in the sewers or some shit like that.
Right.
Or there's a sanctuary where he hits up all the time.
Yes.
Or, something like that. He's kind of sounding like Hellboy.
I wouldn't say he's because Hellboy, I would consider Hellboy to be the equal of those other Daywalkers that aren't.
He's
perfect.
more, but he's still
the father. That Hellboy's father would be more Blade, I would say, because he starts the whole thing.
Oh, the guy, the BPRD.
Yeah.
Okay. As long as you say that, I don't want to I'm pushing. We're kind of. It's kind of sounding like Hellboy to me. I think with the whole alcove, we won't do the alcove or the sanctuary or things like that. We'll just show them maybe they're shrouded in homeless stuff. And Blade's like, look, and he tells the hero, are you gonna kill this guy? He's just trying to make a living. And shows him being a homeless guy, and he picks up a little girl's teddy bear and gives it to her. She says, thank you. Turns out it's one of the Daywalkers.
Okay.
Shows a humanity, a kindness.
Right.
And then it kind of pushes the hero well, I don't know what to do. I thought these were all dicks.
Yeah.
So that could be something. I think that's our second movie. You have your conflict. You have Blade as the mentor. You show our main guy growing up. He's kind of doing the damn thing. He's developing as a character throughout the trilogy. You have your little comic book fanboy. Tip Flash, to where you bring in another hero. You can bring in two other villains from that deal in the macabre and shit like that. And then you have your conflict. It will basically write itself.
Yeah, I really enjoy that it's not just the villains, but also that second hero that he has to overcome.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
3 obstacles, so it's it feels already heavy.
Yeah.
It's a lot like when I was watching Godzilla and he's fighting the 2 Mutos at the same time.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh man, this feels really hard to overcome, but he does. So I really like that in Blade, having to fight not just 1, 2, but 3
adversaries.
Yes.
Yeah.
Even though one's a hero, but that adversary
it's just
doesn't
him.
view.
Yeah, he's just naive.
Right.
Yeah.
And so in that hero views it in his eyes that it's 3 adversaries as well.
Yeah.
Right? So in Blade's point of view, it's not that way, and you get the mentor aspect, trying to make him understand.
Yeah.
So I think that's really good. That's a movie that has a lot of depth.
Oh yeah.
To it.
Yeah. There you go.
I like that.
Who would have fucking thought if you actually think about it? And then so that's it. You have Blade being a mentor. They overcome it.
Yes.
But what would be the thing that would cause the catalyst for the third film? Is the third film the defining film, the last film in the trilogy? Is Blade himself going to be involved in other movies to where it's not his Blade movie, but he's also featured in other movies? Are we going to stop it right there? Is it going to be ambiguous, the ending, where it kind of like, yeah, this isn't the end, and, but you can assume that he's going to keep doing this until the end. What's going to lead up in the end of the second movie that's going to start the third movie, and is the third movie going to be the last of the movies?
Good question. That's a question that we would need to know. Is our Blade actor going to want to do more? Because I think that's what prevents a lot of movies from continuing. Is like, hey, our main character does not want to be the main character.
Or he's aging out.
Yeah, or he's aging out, and you're like, well, how long could we do this? To avoid that, then I would end it at 3, to where the movie, the franchise ends. And it's assumed that, of course, he's just going to keep on keeping on. But the cool thing is that now, since we introduced that second hero, yeah, you could actually have that actor, our Blade character, go into other movies. So if you do a Ghost Rider, then you could put Blade in there. So it does leave that open. It doesn't prevent him from being in other movies.
Staying in his own playground.
Right. And creatively, if the story's right, you could always do, say, a fourth one, if everything makes sense. If everyone agrees to come back, the actor says, yeah, I want to do more movies.
So past the third one's really up to the actor.
Yeah, the actor.
And
that's
the
going
story.
to be a big one. Yeah, and the story. So we would have to do it in a way to where...
It leaves the ending ambiguous.
Right, and it would make sense if there was a fifth film.
And there's no mantle passing or anything. It's
Right.
just, hey, it's ambiguous. Blade's going to do Blade shit at the end of the third movie.
Yeah.
Well, what's going to be the third movie?
Good question. So we already introduced 2 villains.
So what would it be? Do we want to do the big, bad, encompassing, world-conquering villain at the third movie? Do we want to do the trope of, okay, we had another superhero in the second movie, let's add another superhero in the third movie? Or is it going to be just Blade by himself against all odds, really testing out what he learned in the first and second movie?
Okay.
Is it going to be where we don't even introduce another hero in the third movie? It's just Blade by himself. And you thought the odds were tough in the second movie? Boy, are they tough now.
Okay. So if we do just Blade by himself, then the question comes, why isn't he getting that other guy, the other second hero? That was always my question.
Why couldn't he get help?
Yeah. That begs the question. It's like, okay, so where is such and such? Why can't he go call such and such? What's such and such doing that he can't help? So I think that leaves those questions. Like, why is he by himself? Who would be the villain? Oh, man. So the question is now, is it world ending? Is it
still local based?
Is it still local based?
Could it be solved with one villain or one hero? Because you brought up a very good point. Why is he alone?
Why is he alone?
What would cause him to be alone? The world turned against him. Something happened. The word got out. Lies were told about him. Something associated with vampires is causing a stigma, which is making people turn against all vampires. Maybe there's something going on with all the creatures of the night to where it's converting them into a source of pure evil. There's another interdimensional entity that's causing all the creatures of the night to turn from 0 to 100 in terms of savagery and instability or something. Mephisto comes by and there's talks and energy flow that Mephisto is coming into the Earth's aura or realm or whatever, and it's causing all the creatures of the night to go fucking crazy because it's like that's what they're made of. They're made of that mystical shit. So maybe it's triggering. So they got Blade and they put him in a fucking jail, and that's where the movie starts out because they're afraid, because Blade's the strongest of both factions, that he's going to turn into some crazy, super intense bad guy.
Got it. And Blade was imprisoned willingly? Did he know?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
So
it opens up. it opens up with him like a cell door opening, or like the plastic. You can do a throwback to the X-Men to where he's in a plastic cell or he's in a crazy cell. He's a cell he can't break out of, and he hasn't turned yet. He hasn't turned like into the super evil entity that's happening to all of the undead creatures around the world, or mystical creatures around the world, whatever I just fucking said. But they're doing that preemptively.
Okay.
So
who's they?
Well, that's what we're gonna find out. Is it other heroes? Okay. Is it the hero? Is it the human faction? Is it the vampire and human faction? Is it? I don't know. We gotta figure that out. But I was gonna do the opening scene to where his cell door opens and they break him out.
Who breaks him out?
We can introduce more superheroes. We can introduce a faction of the Daywalkers again. Humans. We can do. The world's ours.
Okay. So I do like the idea of you said Mephisto coming in.
Yeah, like his presence is being known.
Who's aware of Mephisto in any of the lore?
Any mystical Ghost Rider, Brother Voodoo, Doctor Strange. If it deal in magic, they're aware.
They're aware. They know who Mephisto is.
If it's a magical character, then they know who it is. He's the big one.
Okay, so if that is the case, I would make it to where. So he's imprisoned. So someone got him strong enough to imprison him.
Yeah.
So it would have to be other heroes, and they all got together. And now the question becomes: did they tell him what's going on? And why aren't they imprisoning themselves? Like, say, Ghost Rider. Would he be affected by Mephisto?
Very true. Because he deals right in with Mephisto.
Right. So then it's like, okay, so he himself plus maybe other heroes are going to be affected by this.
But then you would have your catalyst, your causality of who put Blade in there. Would be all of the mystical arts characters in Marvel putting him in there.
And because they're aware, say he wasn't willing to do it.
He didn't even know about it. They're nabbing everyone up.
Okay, so they kind of abduct him.
That's a beautiful left turn, by the way. Because who would expect the heroes to be the extremist bad guys?
Right. And so, because of that, then they also imprison themselves.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like you got two cellmates across from each other talking, and I guess that could be your dialogue to where he's explaining to him what's going on, and he's like, hey, this is why you're here type thing. And then somewhere along that story, you show them imprisoning themselves.
Yeah, they're all in the cells next to him. That's fucking awesome. It has the Hannibal Lecter thing where they're talking through the glass.
Right.
That's fucking cool.
That's a good visual.
Yeah.
That's a good visual. I like that a lot. Now, the question is, since they're all in prison...
You'd be like, these... Or I don't know if this is going to still be rated R, but these motherfuckers that put me in here, and then...
It's like PG-13.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah. So they can be like, these bastards that put me in here, and then they can be like, Eric, we put you in here.
Yeah.
And then it could show, like, the lights turn on, the boom, 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 boom. It shows all the mystical superheroes. And it just sits, I don't know why, would they put themselves in jumpsuits? I don't know.
No, I mean, you're just in the cell, right?
Yeah, they're just
in the
cell.
You don't have to undress the guy.
Yeah.
What really works, and I actually found this out with deaf people, is they talk in a circle. Oh. So they could all interact with each other in the cells that are in a circle. So they could all see. You don't have none of this business. We're like, who is that talking? Like, you're in the boot style. It's a circle, so you see everyone. And they all see each other, and they can all communicate.
And then there's like an overpan on the floor, and it has like your little pentagrams or your little chalk things, because they're in jail, but they're also in like a seal or something, so they don't get out.
Because Ghost Rider could just basically snap his fingers, he's gone.
Yeah.
So this magical.
And it could be a call. It could be a callback to 13 Ghosts, where it has the writing on.
That's right.
Yeah, that'd be cool too.
That'd be cool. I like that a lot. Yeah. So seeing that, I'll be like, oh man, this is just visually appealing. Yeah. To see.
It's enticing.
Yes. Now the question is, if they're all in prison, who's fighting Mephisto?
That's the logic of it, because they figured, it's kind of like maybe their overzealousness or their opinions of themselves are so high that they think that they're the strongest, magical entities out there, that as long as they imprison themselves, Mephisto won't have too much to work with.
Got it.
And then that could be a thing, and then Blade's like, you're naive, you don't know how the world works, you know how he works. Evil will spread no matter where it is. And then it shows. Remember the second film that we talked about, our film, where it shows Blade showing the hero next to him, the muted Daywalker, he gives the girl the little bear. It's a callback to that scene where it shows the same thing, another child dropping a toy, whatever. It shows the muted Daywalker, whatever. But then it shows him transforming and turning evil. I don't know how you can depict evil, but his eyes roll back and he gets more yoked out or something like crazy, or there's a black or just depictions of how a creature can turn more evil with evil energy. And then that could be a good callback to the second film. It's showing that even all creatures of the night, afflicted with any kind of mystical energy, not just ones who have had direct contact with Mephisto, or even a third link. Hey, the guy who infected Blade was a horseman of Mephisto or something like that, or had a direct line to him or something. It's all. So that could be a thing. And then Blade battles the naive council that imprisoned them and him, and he gets broken out by Punisher. He gets broken out by characters who aren't magic based, but are have the assassin power. Where a Daredevil, Punisher.
You're onto something now.
I'm onto something.
You're onto something now. Okay, so now you got Punisher and Daredevil in. That's really good.
So yeah, they're bringing a knife to a gunfight, and they kind of, I don't know where to go, but now it's basically a hero fest.
Yeah.
And then you don't even need to you can just do the cameos, you see Johnny Blaze, he's on fire, Doctor Strange and all that shit, and stuff. But we have to have street level combat. Luke Cage would be perfect.
Cage, okay. I'm liking this.
Yeah.
I'm liking this, okay.
And then what's cool is it's a Marvel Knights movie, because these are all Marvel Knights characters.
Okay.
So, and then you have the young buck Luke Cage versus not Wesley, but Blade, who's he's been around the block, and they're doing their heroes for hire thing with Luke Cage, who's with Iron Fist, who's with Punisher, who's with Daredevil, and that's the fucking team right there. That's the team. You even throw in a Femme Fatale, Elektra, Shadowcat, any woman who can kick and looks cool, throw her in. By all means. We're inclusive.
Yeah.
But yeah, that could be the second. And then they fight. They go through New York. They go through macabre settings and settings of scariness, and all Blade has to encounter friends that he knew that are turned evil.
Now he has to make a tough decision.
He has to make the tough choice whether to kill him, whether to keep him around if they're worth saving.
Right.
You have choices to where Mephisto infects the team that he's with and infects them with evil energy and turns them into creatures of the night. I have no clue.
That would also be a callback to the second Blade, the team aspect.
The team aspect,
aspect. So they're all out.
Yeah.
And then they're communicating with each other. And I think that's always fun to watch, is the team element, right? That's why Teen Titans do so well.
Yeah.
That's why
Justice League, Avengers.
The Avengers, right? Everyone wants to see a team of heroes, but this one is cool in a way because maybe they don't all necessarily like each other.
Yeah, you can totally do that.
Right? So you got the Punisher.
You have 4 Han Solos in one movie, and they are all button heads.
Yeah, Punisher's looking at everyone's side eye. Ghost Rider basically wants to...
Ghost Rider's in prison.
Oh, but do they could come out?
No,
what I'm saying. So so our movie, they're in prison throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, and then Blade's like, you fucking he's kind of like you. He looks down on them because of how black and white they are. They realize they have a higher opinion of themselves. That's why they put themselves in jail.
Okay.
So what the heroes that I have that are teaming up with Blade are heroes that don't have any mystical powers at all. They're just combatants. They just know how to combat.
So my question, how are they teaming up with Blade? Blade's in prison.
Blade's in prison because, and that's something that we can expand on in the story as well, why hasn't Blade been turned yet?
So that's my question. Is he out or is he still in prison?
Oh, he's still there. He's out. He's out with them.
So they bust him out. And why did they bust him out?
Maybe because Blade explains, how Bass Ackwards, they're the mystics and their plan was.
How did he cross paths with them in the first place?
Because with the people that busted him out?
Yeah. How did Daredevil and Punisher know to bust him out?
Daredevil, Punisher, Luke Cage, Iron Fist. I don't know. We could do just Daredevil and Punisher.
Same. How do they still know to bust Blade out?
Well, it's not just Blade. They're busting everyone out.
Oh yeah, and that's what I was saying. They busted them all out, and then now you got the team.
They plan to. So Daredevil and Punisher go to the prison where all of these A-list mystical heroes are.
Right.
They plan to release them all.
Right.
But Blade explains to Daredevil and Punisher why they are there in the first place.
Okay.
And then that doesn't make sense to Daredevil or Punisher. But the mystics that aren't Blade are adamant, like, hey, we need to stay in here. You can't let us out. You can't, even if you do let us out, we'll put ourselves back in.
Okay.
And so they are unwilling to go.
Got it.
Blade's the only one who wants to get the fuck out of there because he doesn't understand. That plan doesn't make sense.
Okay.
So he's like, I'll go with it. He's the only one opting to go.
Got it.
So that's, and then he goes with Daredevil and Punisher, or whoever is the street level heroes.
Okay.
And then they have their little team up, go, wrecking shit out throughout Harlem, New York, battling their, once, docile, mystic people. And then you confront Mephisto. You can have your big bad fight at the end. You can have your conflict at the end. I really like the aspect of Luke Cage being in there. But then you can't have Luke Cage without Iron Fist. So we have to decide whether it's going to be a 5-hero team, which is a lot of screen sharing time.
It doesn't have to be. It's a Blade movie.
That's true.
But you just got Blade a majority of the time, and then shoot.
Maybe 10 seconds per scene, them kind of showing their attitudes towards one another. And then you have the big culmination fight scene where they're working in tandem. Smart dialogue, shit like that, to where it kind of comes across. This is my character type and how I view the team, and you only need 5 seconds of screen time.
Yeah. And then and if you do it in a way to where they're always in the same scene.
Okay.
They don't have to.
Sure.
Maybe So maybe you don't have to have just one camera on this character, one camera. So it's a lot of we're already in the same place a majority of the time. So we really don't even have to share.
If Suicide Squad we can.
There you go. Yeah, exactly. Just how Suicide Squad did it.
Yeah. So then that's feasible. I like it.
Yeah, me too.
I like it, and yeah, there you go. I mean, you can have your big boss battle at the end. God, that has to be interesting though. Because is it going to be the big boss battle versus 5 heroes and Blade, or is it going to be Blade who's the one left battling because of the aspect, why isn't he infected yet with Mephisto's energy?
Okay. And then what happened to like everyone else? Like what happened to Punisher, Daredevil?
They all get turned corrupted at the end. But there's a thing where you can expand on why isn't Blade being corrupted.
Okay. I don't know.
That can be the defining thing, because we don't need to say or we can say later, like, nothing happened to the Mystics, but, that just shows how futile their effort was. They could have been helping out this whole time. It just shows how naive they are.
Okay. Alright, so, like, nothing was going to happen to them in the first place.
Yeah, but they were just overly afraid.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, overly cautious. It almost caused the lives of millions of people.
Their unwillingness to risk was a risk in itself.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
And then, but what's the thing that causes Blade to not get affected throughout the movie? Maybe he's tempted. Something's triggering him.
It could be that he's always had to have some type of willpower because he has to fight vampire urges too.
Like his hero.
Yeah. So, like, that's how the first one is. He always has to fight back the urge. He even made a serum to...
I guess that tracks too, because they included Blade in that circle because they noticed this within him as well. They doubted him and their own ability and each other's and their willpower.
Right.
Because they were unable to want to take that risk. So I guess you can kind of like say, hey, I struggle every day with wanting to lose myself.
So it's not something new.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not that whole monologue or whatever. I mean, you can do a monologue.
Sure. And you kind of brushed up upon it when you said that he's tempted. So if you're tempted with something, you got to have the willpower to not succumb to the temptation.
Sure. And then, I mean, I don't know if there's... I've just thought of a scene right now. I don't know if it's 2 on the button. But like you can have a scene where he's like killing all of his former friends and he loses himself and he just starts killing relentlessly and violently, and like he's got like blood all over him and like black blood or whatever, and his eyes turn white and he's like losing his humanity while doing this. And then like you have the hard cases that are like, are you okay? Hey, it's time to calm down, or hey, they're dead. And then he's like just done killing them all or something like that. So I don't know if that seems too on the button for struggling with animalistic nature, but it would just be cool to see.
It would be cool to see, but then it would be out of character for a character who's had a lot of character development. That would make sense at the beginning of like Blade 1 movie.
We could
add that in
right.
Blade 1, but for the third film, it's like he's already had so much growth. That would be.
But maybe like the energies do affect the mystical characters, but not on such a grandiose scale to which they assumed.
So then that would be the temptation then?
Yeah, but I don't want to do the scene if it's too on the nose for him losing himself. You know what I mean?
Well, then that's what I'm saying. We would have to explain why is he losing himself, and then
because
you
he's
could point it to Mephisto.
Yeah,
and then
remember in that scene in Mystery Men when they have like that ball and it was making them turn against each other and shit?
The ball,
it was like a device or like a gadget. They were all like, you dumb piece of shit.
Yeah.
It could be like that throughout the whole movie, to where they're constantly butting heads and being like dicks to each other and shit.
So they're turning darker, more evil.
Exactly.
Got it.
And then that could explain Blade's uncharacteristic nature to lose control.
Got it. Okay. And that kind of gives you the extent of Mephisto's
reach. Like they get closer to the epicenter, the more they are tempted to lose themselves.
And then it gives some type of validity to Doctor Strange and all of them saying, this is why.
Yeah, this is why we're far fucking away.
We're in prison because of that right there.
Yeah.
And imagine if we were all out there succumbing to that. Yeah. This is the big reason.
So I guess it doesn't kind of push under the rug why they were worried.
Right. So you kind of see both sides. So like, oh, okay, I see why they were concerned.
Yeah.
But then they didn't know how strong they were as heroes. That they had doubt within themselves. Right. We gave in a little bit, but we were able to overcome.
Yeah. They just didn't want to take that chance, the risk at all.
Good point.
Yeah, and then throughout the whole movie, you can have conflict between the heroes, and it's not them as people, it's them, just being close to that dark energy.
Okay.
And then because Blade is a mystical character who has to deal with holding back all the time, he has that source of mystical willpower to where he can overcome Mephisto's hold, kills Mephisto in a Blade fashion or whatever, or something, have forgiveness be the ultimate weapon, or faith or something, faith in ourselves, or I'm a hero and that's the ultimate weapon, and you got, shit like that. So that can be it, or you can have him kill Mephisto for real. A magic knife, magic dagger. I don't want to do that. We got to search for the magic dagger.
The cliche.
Yeah. I don't want
cliche mystical weapon.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. That's fucking lame. There just so happens to be a magical dagger. Why didn't he destroy it?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want to do that. So maybe
they went to the Himalayas and found a cave that had the dagger.
God. Yeah. Fucking hell.
The salt dagger.
Oh my God. No. I like it. I like that one to where like his willpower is his weapon.
Yeah.
And like you can have like Mephisto throwing like dark little energy balls at him and it's not really effective. But then, if Mephisto is this big bad guy, how is he this big bad guy? Blade can defeat him.
Well, maybe not necessarily he's this big.
He has his own realm.
Sure.
And just like maybe because he's on Earth, he's weaker, but he's still someone who could, like, if you make deals with him, he's super powerful. If you're in his realm, he's super powerful. He still has chance to hold sway if you're able to get into like a contract or under his wing. He's still that's when the real power is.
Okay, I could see that because a lot of like in Christianity, a lot of the demonology is they can't straight up just take control over someone.
Yeah, you have
it's
to
a
be
whole
willing.
process. Yes, and you have to willingly be possessed.
The willpower aspect.
Right. So you kind of have to give them. You kind of have to open the door for them. And then you see all the power, the possession, and all that. So it would make sense to where he's powerful enough that you're not.
He's not gonna outright turn evil like crazy, crazy mystical, like souped up
Yeah.
Mephisto evil.
Yes. So like Blade's still getting affected. All these heroes are still affected without Mephisto really having to do anything.
Right.
But
And the humans aren't getting affected in this movie. They're just getting torn apart by the affected mystical creatures.
okay.
So there's a
mass.
there's a mass exodus of
Right.
humans. That explains why there's no humans in there, or if they are, they're like hiding or some shit. And you can put that in the movie, like they're hiding in the sewers, or they have to be overly cautious. They have their boards and windows.
Big evacuation.
Big evacuation.
National Guard gets
yeah,
deployed.
yeah.
So
The whole city's empty.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's that. Okay, now we have that sewn up. That's
Yeah.
fucking erased. Okay. And that's why it's not really affecting they're not really turning in. We'll not have them turn into monsters or anything. They're just turning into assholes.
Yeah.
You know, like they're being swayed. They're being more of a hindrance than they are help.
Right.
So that's good. That's very good. Okay, so at the end of the movie, Blade has his willpower. You know, he kicks Mephisto's ass, beats him, mercilessly. But that could be a thing. Like, Mephisto puts up a fight. It's, even 50-50. Blade gets, finally gets the good blow, starts beating the shit out of Mephisto, and then Mephisto starts egging him on. Like, turn, like kind of beat the fuck out of me. Finally become the creature, who I want you to be.
Right.
And then that's when he kind of has to, like, I want to beat this motherfucker. Oh, is this really me? And then you can do a thing where he does a duality where he sees himself in full vampire mode. Like what he would have become if he became a full vampire. Like he has like he looks like Eddie Murphy in Vampire in Brooklyn or something. Something like that. Okay. That'd be cool as fuck. Or,
right.
Or just something like that. Or he's
Yeah.
like bald, or it's another iteration of him or something. And then like it's the version of himself, the vampire version of himself, who he hates.
Okay.
So he's like starting to beat up Mephisto mercilessly, and then he's beating up himself, and then I don't know, maybe cool symbolism or something. But him beating up, Mephisto to death, and the version that he hates to death, he thus becomes that version, and he loses himself completely. I don't know. He's trying to egg him on to lose willpower and his, willingness to go back.
Okay.
So but do you agree or?
It would make sense. I mean, that he doesn't succumb to killing him.
Yeah.
Because then that would be that. Oh, okay. You've accepted that you are now evil.
Yeah.
Because you didn't need to kill me.
Right.
But you chose to. So then, in that case, he accepted Mephisto's invitation.
Yeah.
And so, does it really
cross the line?
Yeah. So does it really kill Mephisto, or does it keep him going?
Yeah, and then now he has Blade under his wing
There
as
you
a
go.
henchman.
Yeah.
So maybe that was his whole plan all along.
All along.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Plot twist.
There you go.
Yeah.
That could be somewhere worth in. Well, yeah, I like it.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, it has a lot of elements that don't really feel shoehorned in.
Yeah, good flow.
Yeah.
And then-
yeah, it makes sense.
And then I really can't find a thread that's loose. I can't find a loose end. And then at the end of the movie, he kind of holds back, and Mephisto's like, come on, do it, kill me here, do it now, bullshit. And then, Blade's like, I'm done with you. You're nothing if no one's evil, or whatever. And then it kind of like has him like trip out and vibrate out of existence, because Blade was the defining factor in him staying on Earth, because he needs someone to gather souls and sway people and shit. So maybe Blade would have been his horseman. That's something we can work on.
Okay.
But yeah, so at the end of the movie, Mephisto's defeated, and the heroes part ways. It shows clips to where throughout the movie, each hero took a lesson from each other hero. Like the Punisher might be have someone in his crosshairs, and like a policeman drives up and he's about to capture the criminal, but he's like, he wants to kill him, but he lets the policeman capture him and put him away. So that shows that the Punisher is learning humanity, like shit like that,
Right.
Or maybe Daredevil, is learned some aggression. He's not so, fuddy-duddy. He's not so on the line now. Now he's a little bit more a badass. So
Okay.
each hero takes something away from their experience in the movie.
Okay. I do like that, because then it kind of shows.
That it wasn't just a one-off.
Right. And that Blade and each other had an impression
Yeah.
left upon them.
Because I don't think that you don't see that a lot in those
No.
group movies.
No.
You don't see that each character took something away from the other character.
Right.
There's an influence. You just have 4, 5, stone-cast, hard-headed characters that leave, the walk in the sunset, and then they haven't learned anything.
Right. Okay. No, that's good because that's another element to the story.
Yeah. So that's it then. I guess that's our trilogy wrapped up.
That's a good trilogy. I mean, that would be very entertaining.
Yeah, I don't see anything bad with each movie.
We need to get some money.
Yeah. Hey, get us some money, pay us, because we'll make you some really good movies.
That's a good movie.
Yeah, it's a good trilogy.
It really is. And it doesn't even have to stop there. I mean, because then now you got all these crossovers that you can.
Oh, 100%. And then you can totally put each hero in, and they're familiar. They've been in other movies before.
Mm-hmm.
They know the what do you call it. I'm down with it. I'm
Same.
down with it 100%.
I like it a lot.
Okay. Well, that was Blade. Hopefully, we can do another one. I think we are going to do another one.
We are going to do another one.
Oh, we're going to do another one. Get ready for episode 2 soon coming out. We got to edit this one. And like, subscribe, leave any comments, what we can do and improve on any of our ideas. And let us know. We'll see you guys later.